Hello, this is Stampy, and welcome to episode 1 in my video diaries, which I'm going to be talking about the process of me trying to write my first ever novel. So, in case you missed the last video, or a recent video on this channel where I announced that I was writing a book, and that was also when I kind of announced that I was slowing down a little bit with the videos that I was doing on YouTube, 2 bits of information that were related. Basically, here's the news. I am trying to write a novel, and so the idea of these videos is to give you a little bit more information about it. I can reply to any questions about it, and also it's kind of just for selfish reasons for me. I think that, you know, if one day this book ends up getting done and then ends up getting published, I think this would be a nice thing to kind of look back on, of me kind of documenting my process of making it. And seeing as so much of my time is being spent on this one single thing, it kind of seemed a good idea to kind of make some content around it as well, you know, because at the moment I'd say about, in terms of like my work time, probably about 80% is working on things related to the book, and probably about 20% of things are related to things, you know, to do with just my general YouTube channel. So it's like the main thing that I'm doing right now. Like, it's like my number one priority for what I'm working on at the moment. So doing this about it just seemed to make a good idea. I've also had the idea of kind of inside of Minecraft, maybe doing a series where I start building some of the sets that are in the book, kind of some of the scenery, some of the places that the story goes to. I thought that could be just kind of a fun challenge for me to do. Obviously, you don't know kind of the setting or anything yet, and that's something I kind of want to talk about. So I've decided, which is going to probably make these videos a little bit more difficult, I've decided that for now, I don't really want to reveal kind of hardly, I'm covered in dog hair, I don't really want to reveal hardly anything about the book. So I'm not announcing kind of the characters, the setting. I can say that it is a fiction book. It's kind of like an adventure novel, and I'll say that I guess the age group that I'm writing it for, I'd say, is kind of in between the 8 to 12 range. Of course, people under 8, you know, would be able to read it or have it read to them. I'd really love to have a audiobook version, which fingers crossed I'll be able to read, which would be a really cool thing to have. But when I say that, don't think, oh no, I'm older, you know, than 12. This is going to be a really kiddie thing. It's not. It's not going to be patronizing. Like, I'm writing a book that I think that I would enjoy reading if I wasn't writing it. And, you know, I'm not like writing down thinking, how would, you know, a child enjoy this moment? I'm kind of just writing kind of a story that I think is hopefully going to be entertaining to anyone, you know, but just kind of making sure that there aren't any themes that would be, you know, too unsuitable. And also just making sure it's, you know, easy enough to follow and it's readable, and I'm kind of not jumping around all over the place or, you know, referencing things that happened a long time ago, you know, that they might not have heard of. So that's kind of the only reason why I'm putting it in that age range. I want it to be illustrated. Is kind of the goal. That doesn't mean it's going to be a picture book. It means it's going to be kind of a standard, you know, chapter-driven novel, but there will be kind of a few illustrations, hopefully, throughout there that I think could really add a lot. It's something you've got to be careful with, because one of the great things about books compared to films and TV and video games is the fact that so much of it can come from the imagination. And if I am describing an area and they create, and you know, the reader creates an image in their head of what it looks like, and then they turn the page and there's a picture and it looks completely different, sometimes, you know, that can be a problem. But, you know, it can also add a lot. And I always love the idea of kind of adding maps and just sort of add extra little details around the page just to kind of keep it interesting throughout. So apart from that, I really can't tell you too much about what the story's going to be. And the reason I'm doing that isn't like just to be super secretive or anything. I just feel like if things are announced too early, then, you know, you can kind of get a bit fed up of hearing about it before it comes out. And of course, you know, I'm doing these videos talking about it, and I am going to be talking about it. I kind of had to announce that I was writing it just because I had to explain why there are going to be, you know, so many less videos and kind of less time spent on the other videos. I kind of needed to let people know that I'm just not being really lazy and that I am working on something. But if I start really, you know, talking about, what the story and what the book's going to be about, like, I just feel that doesn't add anything. Like, I think a book's always better, or almost anything's better. Like, I never watch film trailers, for example. I think it's always better when you don't know what it's going to be about. Of course, you need to explain just a little bit, just so, people will have an idea whether they want to read it or not. But I really think kind of the less I talk about it and the more it can just kind of eventually be released, I think the better. But probably, I'm sure, leading up to it, I'll have to speak about it a little bit more and kind of reveal the cover and stuff. So that's the reason why I'm deciding to not talk about it too much. But what I can talk about, and what I think would be good for this first episode of this video diary, is kind of the origin. So growing up, I always enjoyed writing books. I'm probably in one of the future episodes, I might even show you and really bore you with them. But when I was at school, I used to write loads and loads of books, like literally like getting paper. It was always like colored paper and just kind of like cutting it and like sellotaping it and like trying to make a book that way. And I had like one book which was like over 100 pages long with a bunch of different stories and drawings and stuff. And this was probably when I was 7 or something. So I've always kind of had that interest. I've kind of always gone up and down for the amount that I have read. Often I'd have like one book that kind of really draws me in, or, when I go on holiday, I'd be reading then, and that would kind of get me into it for a while, and then I would drop off, probably largely because of video games would kind of dominate my social time. But for the last, I'd say, year and a half, 2 years, I've been reading probably at least an hour every single day. There was just kind of one book series that I really got into, and then I realized that I wanted to improve the way I slept, and I wanted to fall asleep quicker and kind of sort out my sleeping pattern. And I found that reading for at least an hour before going to bed is a great way just to kind of completely clear your mind, kind of take your head into another world, and also to have an hour not looking at a screen was a great thing to do before bed. So now I kind of make sure, right, don't go to bed too late, go to bed to give me time to read for at least an hour in order to go to sleep. And often it ends up being more than an hour if I end up getting really into it. And, if I am away somewhere, then I'll be reading even more than that. And that has kind of got me really back into reading. And I've had an idea for a book that I wanted to write for a really long time. I don't know if I should say, I might not say it just in case I do end up going back to it, but I had an idea that I was developing and had in the back of my mind for a long time. And then suddenly I came up with a different idea, and I liked it more than the first idea. And then I was like, right, I'm doing this. Like I was so happy with the idea that I came up with. I kind of scrapped the original idea, took a few things that I liked from it. Actually, I'm just going to tell you the original idea because I'm probably not going to end up doing it, certainly not anytime soon. So the original idea for the first book was the idea of that there's a child, and they kind of have like some sort of magic fairy shows up, and it's kind of like the story where someone's in need, and then the kind of like the fairy godmother type character kind of appears, whether it's a ghost or a sprite or whatever it is, kind of think Drippy from Ni no Kuni, and they're like, right, this is a person in need and I'm here to save you, what's the problem? And then the boy or whatever just says like, oh no, I'm fine, I don't need any help. And it was basically this thing was sent from another land to help them out. And then it was like, no, actually, I don't need help. And then what it turns out being is it's actually that person's friend that needed help, and they end up working together. And then it would end up going back to this fairies world, and it would end up getting all crazy. And I kind of spent a bit of time working it out, and then it never really went anywhere. And then I came up with a new idea, which is the idea which I am going forward with now. And I didn't know how to write a novel. I didn't know what the process is. Of course, everyone can write to some certain extent, well, almost everyone, is able to write, but writing something of that length and kind of trying to ensure that people keep engaged, and then working out what the themes are going to be, working out all of the character development, like it's something that I've never had to do. It's very different from the types of stories that I've been, telling with my videos. So there was a lot I had to learn, even just in terms of how to format a book properly, and to go through all of that, which has been a really fun task. And so the best way to do it, I think, is to plan everything first. So some authors, they might develop the characters and then kind of let the story kind of flow more organically. You can kind of almost say, right, these are the group of characters. If I put them in this situation, how would they escape and let it flow? But for me, with the type of story I wanted to tell, I actually planned 4 books. So the idea is that there's going to be 4 books. It's one kind of continuous chronological story, which will tell a complete story. Obviously, you want each individual book to be a complete story as well and have a satisfied ending. But really, you want to kind of read them all kind of sequentially to go through them all. So I planned a rough outline of the 4 entire books. I then went down to the first book and went into a lot of detail for very, specifically what is everything that's going to happen in that book. And then, I kind of separated that into chapters to make sure, each beginning and end of chapter would be a good moment and a good time to end the chapter. And then I kind of had the book, and then I started writing it because at that point I was really, really antsy and I just wanted to start writing it. And then I've been kind of switching between doing 3 things. So sometimes I'll be kind of progressing the actual story and writing the actual manuscript, and then sometimes I would be going back to my plans for future books and just kind of fleshing them out, adding in kind of more characters and kind of playing around with that, which would then go and affect that story. And then sometimes I would just be going and kind of rereading what I've written and kind of changing it and adapting it. So that's kind of what I've been doing. Of course, I've got a whole load of notes in terms of just the world design. I've got a drawing of kind of what the map is and kind of the layout of the setting for where the book is set, and kind of all the character bios and stuff. So I've got all of that kind of stuff as well, just to kind of flesh things out. And it's a lot of stuff that won't actually ever end up coming to play in the story, but it's just kind of nice to have that. It just makes it easier to write it when you kind of know logically like how everything's going to be. Like a lot of the stuff that I've come up with is things that they were basically plot holes where something I realized, actually, this doesn't make sense. That doesn't really all add up. And I was like, what if there was this that did this? And I'm like, actually, that's like a really cool thing. So I've kind of had a lot of accidental ideas that I've been happy with. But yeah, as I was saying, I'm about 9 chapters into the book now. I think that's probably going to end up being about a third of the book in length. As I said, it's all pretty dynamic at the moment and changing around. And I'm kind of stopping writing the book at the moment and just really going into detail through those 9 chapters, because the problem is as I have never written a book, when I started, I wasn't very good at it, and hopefully I've been gradually getting better. And so, I write chapter 9 and I'm quite happy with it, and then I go back to read chapter 1 and I'm like, it's just not very good. It's just not very good in comparison. There's just certain things that I was doing back then that I've kind of got better at. I'm kind of streamlining things a little bit better. I'm getting better at the way that I kind of describe the world and the pacing. And so I know that by the time I've finished writing the book, I will be hopefully a better author, and then, essentially be ready to rewrite the entire book. At some point, you've got to say, right, it's done, because you're going to be doing that forever, and I would never actually release anything. So that's just kind of the process that I'm going through at the moment. It's not going to be coming out anytime soon, I'm afraid. But hopefully, if you stick around watching these these diaries, then you can kind of be involved. I know that there's a lot of people that are doing writing as well, so feel free to share any of your stories, any questions about what I'm going through, which don't involve, particular things about the book. Feel free to ask them in the comments. And this is what these videos are going to be. I know they are probably going to be very boring for most people. I am really doing this for selfish reasons, just to kind of document it for myself. I'm putting them up on here on my second channel, just in case anyone else does have any interest in kind of following what I'm going through. So this is the end of diary number 1. I think the future ones are probably going to be going more specific in like one particular topic of what is happening. And of course, the ones that come later on, once I've kind of revealed what the books are about, I'll be able to go a little bit into more detail about the actual kind of plot and stuff. Of course, I'm not going to spoil anything or give anything away, but I'll be able to be less vague about everything that I'm talking about. But that's the end of episode 1. Thanks for watching, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Bye.